Good morning, and welcome to another cold morning. As you can see, we're a little bit later today. The sun's actually come up, but we'll do our discussion, and I hope everyone is safe during this cold snap in Vancouver. And, you know, we keep buying clothes and, you know, old clothes that don't fit. Take them to a shelter. There's an awful lot of those clothing boxes. Donate clothing here. Well, maybe we should be putting into those, and give them a clean jacket. A lot of these jackets nowadays, winter jackets, can be washed. If it's crap, throw it out. But you know, we have to take care of each other, and a lot of people who can't afford housing for whatever reason, doesn't really matter. If you have old jackets that are just sitting in your closet year after year, donate them. Let's make sure everyone gets through this cold winter. You guys may be watching this in your nice warm house, but there are people out there who are actually freezing, and we need to help them. Just sneak over there. So grab your coffee, your tea, your hot chocolate, cider, apple juice, whatever you like. Lemonade. I always enjoyed lemonade during the winter. We'll be right back. Okay, our first topic is gas prices. Global is reporting gas prices right across Canada are raising. And when I went through high school, grade 10 socials, we were taught that Alberta had all these pots, oil sands, and there was ample gas. And then we learned from the report that Vancouver gets most of their gas from the US, and the US is it's all supply and demand. So we have a refinery here. I think it used to be Chevron. I don't know what it is now. But that refines gasoline. So why are prices going up so? It's it's like if we have a source in Canada, which is one of the richest source, why aren't we buying Canadian? Instead, people keep everything. They think the States has everything so much better than Canada. Well, I don't think that's true. Every year, gasoline prices just keep climbing. They say that gas prices may keep going up. So, are we stuck with high gas prices? Now, this may be hard to take, but maybe only use the car when it's absolutely necessary. Don't, oh, well, I've got to go to the store, which is a block away. Maybe walk. I know Vancouver, Victoria has an excellent transit system. In Vancouver, there's a SkyTrain. You could go from Surrey to Coquitlam, downtown, and there's buses connecting. So, wouldn't it make sense that if we could utilize the buses more? Now, as hopefully we're going to end up in summer pretty quickly. Maybe we need to get on a bike and bike. I can, as a kid, I don't know, think it was grade 3. I wrote a letter to the Prime Minister of Canada, who coincidentally was the Prime Minister's father that we have now. And, I said that, we should all drive bikes instead of cars and cut car pollution. Well, do we want to have smog and the problems that plague Southern California? There are families now who have 2, 3 cars. We used to be not a high class family, but my family had 2 cars. And that was because both my mother and my stepfather worked and had company cars. So that was special. Now every family seems to have 2 or 3 cars. And do we really need everyone to spread out and go their own separate ways and have 3 different cars for one family? If we could find to combine and cut down the amount of traffic, we sure would cut down on the amount of gasoline we use, and we'd end up with surplus. And they wouldn't like that, so they lower the prices. But we think back to the old mystique, and that was that everyone had to have their own cars. You see it on TV on all the old shows. Well, even now, Dad, I want to get a car. And they seem like it's a rite of passage that they have their own car. Well, first of all, cars nowadays are way too expensive for them to have a car. Well, maybe it's another driver. If they need to go out to school to UBC, mom and dad need to go to work, well, get out there. So he arrives an hour before school starts for him. Big deal. I mean, if we think about it, a lot of times people will come up with answers, but the answers are like stiff medicine. And we as people will always complain and come up, oh, I can't do that because of this. Well, I think for everyone who lives in the region, we may just have to. So, what are people going to do? It's a really hard thing to suggest. But we have to get vehicles off the road. There's public transit. Oh, yes, sometimes you may have to wait. If there's 2 people that need to go out shopping and you want to use the car, well, maybe, Both of you can go. But don't just get one person go in a car. Get carpooling. That seems to be the better solution. But yet, people don't want to do that. They don't like to do that. And people get frustrated. And then they get frustrated over the price of gasoline and prices keep going up because everybody wants everything. And like I said, they want a car, they want this, and another car on the road is only going to cause more problems. But oh, I want to go on date nights and I want to go out with my friends and just make every gas liter count. You know, back in the 40s and maybe up to the 50s, there was always rationing. There was the war, gasoline. People found ways to conserve. After that, it was an era of abundance. And people, just kept, oh yes, here. And then they kept buying. Our dumps are astronomical of what people throw away. And a lot of times, oh, well, I'm moving, I'll throw this out. I talked earlier, just in the intro, about if you have clothes or whatever hanging in your closet that don't fit, donate them. But people won't do that. So, excuse me for a second. Oh, I've been having a little coughing fit lately. So don't be. Now, maybe I'll speak to the teenagers now. Don't be in such a rush. Oh, I want my own vehicle. You can have your own vehicle if you make every liter count. Oh, I want to go out and drive. Well, I know growing up, that was always a great excuse with my dad. He would get a brand new car. Oh, we've got to go and drive. But that's when gas prices were lower and, there was so much abundance of gas and everyone got out. But now there's so many people and there's so many cars. The amount of cars going in to work. And everyone wants to move out. They want to get away from the city. So they're out in the valley, out in Chilliwack area, and they drive in. Now, for those of you who aren't from around here, Chilliwack is about a 2-hour drive a lot of times in. And, they constantly get stuck. And what? We have a better transit system than a lot of other places. And like I said before, make every liter count. We'll see. But we have to do something about reducing gasoline and cars and smog. And especially in this weather, if you are out in a car that's not ready or not suited for the snow, don't be out there until this all melts away. Especially if you have summer tires on there. Don't be ridiculous. Be real. Have a good night, or a good day. We'll be right back. Just doing a little. Okay, so the interior health region is experiencing a high influx of the flu viruses attacking. Now, the flu, especially for older people, people who have declined immune systems, and I don't necessarily mean the AIDS patients. I mean, there's many different reasons why you have a declined immune system. But when you go into any sort of health hospital, clinics, if you don't have hand sanitizer, you should really invest in it. And while I'm not an opponent of using hand sanitizer every day, I think a lot of times if you're at home, just hand washing, hot water and soap, and saying, some people say sing happy birthday, other people say sing twinkle twinkle little star. But make sure you get in the fingers and you kill all the bacteria and you rinse well. A lot of times it's the rubbing action which helps loosen up any bacteria in your hands. It'd be nice to say, oh, well, don't get your fingers in your mouth. But we actually do get our fingers into our mouth a lot of times. Lunchtime, we eat sandwiches. Schools, universities are all prime targets for the flu. So, if you get, I'm just reading here off the global website, if you get a sudden onset of sore throat, cough, and a headache, you should really stay home. If you show a fever, a temperature that passes 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm sorry, I don't, or maybe I do, 38 degrees Celsius, don't go to work. But, another study has shown that people go to work sick and they send their kids to school sick. Well, when you do that, you're just passing on the virus. And I know when we were growing up, if we had a cold or if we had the flu or if something, we weren't sure if it was a cold or a flu, we would stay home from school. And usually at that time, some other kid in the neighborhood would bring homework from the teacher. But now everyone's got to get ahead. If you miss something, somebody is going to be out there to replace you. But I think, right now, interior health regions really having a problem with 15 deaths. Well, I'm sure the other health regions have had deaths accordingly as well. But if you go into the hospital, make sure you use the hand sanitizer. Now, I've seen everyone do this. If you have exposed arms, go down your arms a bit with it. Try not to touch anything other than your own personal property. If you have to help your mother eat or whatever, after they're done, you should wash their hands. You know, if you have, I don't know, if you have to tidy up the bed or whatever, make sure you use sanitizer. But when you go home, don't have to use sanitizer. Maybe when you come in or when you leave the hospital, use sanitizer. Now, not everyone needs sanitizer every single day. Now, sorry about that. Um, Put something down behind and it all kind of landed in the wrong place. And it toppled you over. But, people won't take there's some people out there who won't take the flu shot. Oh, well, my aunt did took the flu shot and she got very sick from it. Well, it's a better, you have more of a fighting chance out there. So I think what we're really talking about, I'm just going over the facts here, is we need to stop feeling like we have to go to work every day. Well, yes. And, companies now give you sick days, and people seem to think, oh, well, I'll take a sick day, as, oh, they're extra vacation days. They're not. They're there if you need them. Now, people say, oh, yeah, well, right. I don't get sick. And then what happens? They get sick. I used to work with people all the time. And then they'd whine and say, oh, well, I can't afford it. And, if an illness goes over 6 days, then they're eligible for disability or whatever. But if you are sick, if you are legitimately sick, and you have the sore throat and the headache and the coughing, don't go to work. Plain and simple. It's better that if you have the flu virus, that you contain it. That's the only way we're going to stop from having, like Interior Health, having 15 deaths. That's 15 people who have lost their lives. Could be a grandmother, could be a grandfather. All this over a virus that a few years ago wasn't even really prevalent out there. But people continually want to get ahead. And it's kind of really a stupid plan. And especially send your kids when they're sick to school. Well, there's no one that will take them. Well, maybe if you can work from home that day. But instead, people keep wanting to go to work. So we're all supposed to be happy. But yet, people continue get other people sick. People keep wanting to go into work because, the other person will, get the job done and they'll get the promotion. But if you're sick and you have to go home, Just think how many other people you're contaminating. And they take it home to their family, kids bring it to school because, oh, I don't have anyone to look after them. I can remember that when my mom would go to work, and I was sick, I would spend some time at someone else's home. I don't know if things like that really are out there anymore, but maybe they should be. Maybe we could form some form of alliance. But you see, nowadays, there is a lot of single parents out there, and they don't have the support which is needed. And who really wants to take care of a sick child? So, what ends up happening is a mother will use her sick days to care for a son or a daughter. And then when they get sick, they have to go to work. There's such a thing as, oh, I've got the sniffles. Well, bully for them, and, that's fine. But if you've got a headache and you got a fever and or a cough and has come on suddenly, well, that's probably the flu. And if you have them, don't be foolish and try to go to work. The flu can very easily turn into pneumonia. So don't rush out there and, try to be a hero and stay home. Get better. And then go to work. I think all these flu outbreaks would disappear. I can remember when I worked at 7-Eleven and any of the other stores, one person would have it, everyone else would get it. And, sometimes it was just people, oh, I want an extra day off. But there were some people that were, legitimately, and one person got it. They came to work, they touched everything, and then someone else would get it, and it would progress that way. So be sensible. If you do get the flu, stay at home. Okay, so you've packed up for a trip. You got your luggage all packed, you race out to the airport. You stop off the bar for a few drinks, and then a couple of drinks, not a few. And then you board your plane. Well, imagine being told that your flight was canceled or because the pilot passed out from being drunk. Well, that's what's happened to a Sunwings flight. Stopping off at Regina and Winnipeg and from Calgary, and then flying to Cancun, Mexico. So how much do we really know what condition our pilots are in before flying? And how do we know they haven't drunk something at a layover somewhere before they come into your flight? We don't. And, I'm wondering if Transport Canada or the airports take into that they have to blow a breathalyzer. This gentleman now has to surrender his passport to the Calgary police and has had to pay $1,000 bail, fine, whatever you want to call it, so that he could get out of jail. And you have to go to work. And does this person have a problem? Well, that doesn't really make people feel better. So I think a breathalyzer before getting on the plane. Like I said, this guy had 3 times the amount, and this was 2 hours after the incident. Now, this pilot was so drunk that he passed out in the cockpit. And all I can say is thank goodness that, I mean, even the harbor planes here that take it from Vancouver to Victoria have 2 pilots. And thank goodness there was a co-pilot on board. But, and this is a 737 800. So it's not like a prop plane, it's a big plane. So this guy, the pilot, is being charged with impairment in flying an aircraft. But everyone seems to think they can handle their alcohol. And, it's always, oh, well, yes, I can handle my alcohol and blah, blah, blah. But this should not even come into play if you're flying. Even if you're driving a bus, you shouldn't be using alcohol. Even if you're out in a car, you should be using alcohol. But like I say, I don't know if this guy has a problem, but it certainly was not a good thing for the passengers flying. I'm sure Sunwings are going to have some explaining to do to their passengers. But yet, I'm sure they eventually got another pilot and got out of Calgary for their I'm sorry, trip. So, years ago, being drunk is portrayed as the happy-go-lucky, everyone who gets drunk. And so, this guy got on the plane, and the flight attendants or the cabin crew noticed that he was acting peculiar. Now, I don't know really what that means, but he was acting out of sorts. And I guess because the captain is the head of the aircraft and in charge of everything, people are worried about their jobs if they speak up. And I don't know what the work environment around at Sunwings is, but it's obvious that they need to have more of an open, that people can report things like this. Now, I'm not talking about a whistleblower, but you're taking people's lives in your hands. And, you're flying. I think that the company should take stronger standards. I've been drinking soda pop. But if there is visual sights that this person is intoxicated, someone should be able to say, sorry, you can't get on this aircraft. A lot of times, sometimes that has to be the co-pilot. And what happens if he's a training officer or... I don't know what protocols Sunwings has. I think Sunwings is more kind of a private charter, where if it was Air Canada or something, there'd be more protocol in place. But how do we know what could, we're taking these companies flat out assuming that all their people who are working on the plane are sober, and that the cabin crew is sober, and that the flight staff is sober. But, people could say, oh, well, it's only happened once. But isn't once enough? Don't we need to ensure that things like this don't happen again? Sorry, that was Nico over there. But people keep thinking that, oh, well, they can handle, and, it's always been a laugh, like I said before, about, drunk. Rodney Dangerfield for years, I think, portrayed a drunk. Or Foster Brooks did another one. And, people laughed, and so I think people, they're drunk, and, oh, I'm doing such a fine job. When people see this, they don't really respond appropriately, and, oh, that guy's acting weird. Now, I don't know if the passengers actually got on the plane, but, as all they know, oh, there's a mechanical issue, and this guy was taken off the plane. But we don't know how far the person got, this person driving the plane. Now let's just see what they have to say about it. Just one sec here. I don't necessarily like the new version of the what they're saying here is the person boarded a Sunwings Airline 737 series aircraft in Calgary, and the plane was scheduled to make stops in Regina, Winnipeg before continuing to Cancun, Mexico. It had they are saying that there were customers on board with it, and there was also crew. So there was about 105 souls on this plane. And this guy was so drunk that he passed out. He simply just passed out. And I think we need to have a way of being prepared that somehow a breathalyzer is done before flying. If this could happen, it could happen anywhere in the system. It could be American flight leaving Vancouver. It could be Air Canada across the country. We don't know. And as paying customers, that we are putting our lives, this isn't kind of like, oh, well, the flight was canceled because the charter didn't work out or whatever. This is because some idiot, and he is an idiot, drank before getting on a plane. And he must have drank an awful lot. It wasn't, oops, I had a drink and didn't realize there was alcohol in it. That excuse wouldn't fly. So, be careful out there. I know we're out of the holiday season, but there's snow and ice. Don't drink and drive. Simple as that. Okay, that was our story. That was our stories. Um, I don't know what to say, but I think I said it at the end of the last one, and that's we really should be safe out there, and don't be stupid. Don't go trying to race across the street as cars are coming because you don't know if they're able to stop. And if you are operating one of those vehicles, take extra care. And definitely, like our last story, I said it once and I'll repeat it now, don't drink and drive. How bad would you really feel after? So sit back, enjoy the rest of your night, day, whatever it is for you, and we'll be back tomorrow. Bye now.